Hello and welcome to Lutherans Alive. We believe that God is doing wonderful things through us. And so this is the program which seeks to tell the stories of Lutheran Christians and their ministries here in Southwestern Pennsylvania. I'm Pastor Tony Schneck. I'm pleased to be your host on the program. And today I am joined by Pastor Scott KeuchenmeisterHall, who is the campus pastor and executive director of Lutheran Campus Ministry in Greater Pittsburgh. Scott, welcome to the program today.
Good to be here. Thanks, Tony.
And for those who may not be familiar, tell us where it is that you do ministry at the Lutheran University Center.
The Lutheran University Center is located right across the street from the Carnegie Art Museum on Forbes. We're situated right between the University of Pittsburgh and Carnegie Mellon University. Even some campus buildings are beside us and around us and behind us. And as the universities expand and more land is grabbed by them in the Oakland neighborhood, we become more and more in the midst of the campuses around us.
And how long have we had a Lutheran presence there at the Lutheran University Center in Oakland?
Well, the Lutheran University Center was built in 1962, but the Lutheran Campus Ministry dates back to 1948 when it was housed out of St. Andrew Lutheran Church in Shadyside at Moore-Wooden Center. And they've had services at Hines Chapel, I think, since about 1956. So we've been around a long time, I think probably longer than Roman Catholics or the Jewish University Center.
And the University Center reaches out to and serves students not only from University of Pittsburgh and Carnegie Mellon, but others as well.
Carlow University and Chatham University.
Wonderful. Very good. And how long have you served there at the Lutheran University Center?
I've been there 12 years, long enough to get 3 bachelor's degrees.
So you've seen quite a few students.
I have. Quite a few students come through. It's kind of interesting to watch what happens each year as we reach out to the students and build up. You know, at this time of the year, we're saying goodbye to those who are graduating. And at the end of the summer, I always pray a little prayer that, you know, send some people to replace them, God. And God has always been faithful in that and sent us new students for us to reach out to and for us to become involved in our community and to have a place to practice their faith.
So what specifically would you find students doing there at the Lutheran University Center? What sort of activities, including worship? Tell us a little bit about worship on Sunday mornings. Maybe start there and say some things about what goes on.
We have worship on Sunday mornings for the students at 10:45, and of course that's preceded by breakfast. Breakfast starts at 9:45, but they usually roll in around 10, 10:15, 10:30, 10:42, grab a bagel. Some students eat bagels faster than anybody I've ever seen, so they can get up to worship. But the worship service each Sunday is a communion service, and we follow the ELW. We use Now the Feast liturgy, and for nostalgia's sake for these students, we use LBW2 as well during Advent and Lent. There was a time when the ELW came out, and it was we were able to buy the ELW because of a gift from St. Andrew Lutheran Church in Moon Township. And so I took all the ELWs down, and there was a bit of a rebellion. So I was made to promise that we would still use the LBW on occasion. So the group that we have, they're traditionalists. They are ones who like the chorale kind of hymns and enjoy the liturgy.
So you've got some solidly Lutheran students who are in Oakland there at those 4 universities, and they have a place where they can go and worship and have fellowship with one another as well.
Right. In addition to the breakfast on Sunday mornings, we have Wednesday night dinners. And the Wednesday night dinner is sort of a drop-in thing that goes on between 5 and 7. With the number of students increasing and the number of classrooms not keeping pace, the schedule of the university continues to expand in both directions. So classes can start at 8 o'clock in the morning and then not end until 9:30 at night. So it gets impossible to be able to fit into everybody's schedule to have a time when there's not going to be any classes except on Friday night. But what college student is going to go to church on a Friday night? So we have this dinner from 5 to 7, and they can come and go as they please. But we also then, for 6 weeks out of each semester, offer Bible study after dinner at 7 o'clock. And those Bible studies can be, actual books of the Bible, or we can do a topical study, or we can look at some sort of overarching theological theme. And then when we're not doing Bible study, we'll offer evening prayer. We use Holden evening prayer. It's a liturgy written by Marty Haugen. So we have those opportunities. Another worship opportunity that we offer to the campus is choral prayer at the close of the day. That's the prayer office of Compline. Compline is the last prayer of the day. It's the way that the church prays good night. And that service is mostly a sung service. It's a contemplative service. It's led by the Pittsburgh Compline Choir under the direction of Alistair Stout. And the choir is made up of Roman Catholics and Episcopalians and Methodists and Presbyterians and Lutherans. And you'll find the same sort of mix in the congregation as well. The congregation includes students, but also includes people from the surrounding areas. Some people will get together a field trip from their church and come see us, or we've had retirement communities that'll come, take one of their buses and come to see us on a Sunday night at 8:30 at Heinz Chapel. Now, of course, all our services run with the academic year, and that's not happening right during the summer, but it does happen in the fall semester and spring semester.
It's a nice invitation to our congregation
Sure.
and our viewers who might be watching today to,
Right.
during the school year, stop on down. Heinz Chapel, it's a beautiful setting and beautiful music, very fine choral music, very talented organists from the area who play for the services.
Right. Not only are there organists now that play, but once a month we try to get a musician from the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra to come and do the prelude. And then that person will also do improvisation along with one of the psalms that is sung. So they can find our schedule on the internet, and that'll list when those people from the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra will be there.
And our Lutheran congregation, which is in the heart of downtown, First Lutheran, has been a good partner in that ministry, that Sunday evening Compline service.
Right. They co-sponsor the service with us, and because of that co-sponsorship, we were able to expand the ministry, record a CD. We're hoping to be able to broadcast the service soon. It's because of that sponsorship and partnership that sort of mission has been able to expand.
Thanks so much for what you've shared so far, Scott. We're going to take a short break, and more about campus ministry and life in Oakland with Pastor Scott KeuchenmeisterHall here on Lutherans Alive when we come back.
All right.
Welcome back to Lutherans Alive. We're continuing our conversation with Pastor Scott KeuchenmeisterHall, who is the campus pastor at the Lutheran University Center down at Pitt in Oakland, or in that area, CMU also, Chatham and Carlow, and executive director of Lutheran Campus Ministry in Greater Pittsburgh. We were talking a little bit before the break about partnerships and how important it is that pastors and youth group leaders let you know that our young people from our congregations, our good Lutheran youth, are there in Oakland or in the surrounding area and could be invited to be a part of the ministry at the University Center.
We rely heavily on referrals from congregations, not only congregations in our synod, but congregations throughout the nation. We have a network where if you know where a student is going to college, you can contact Lutheran Campus Ministry, you can contact the Synod office and tell them. And then that will be passed along so that the right campus minister gets in touch with that person. So we have a large number of universities and colleges throughout the country that are covered by Lutheran campus ministry or by a ecumenical ministry with our full communion partners. So if you don't refer them, oftentimes what happens is that the person will go off to college and not even know that there's a campus ministry there for them. One of the most frustrating things that I have is that somebody will walk by the building and for some reason it clicks and they come in and say, I didn't know this was here. I said, yeah, we're here. You know, we're at the activities fairs. We put flyers up. We put ads in the newspaper. And invariably, there'll be a senior about ready to graduate. So part of the care of the baptized is making sure that when we send them out, we're not just sending them out, but we send them out and let them know that there's a place for them no matter where they go. And you can imagine that, you know, somebody who is arriving on campus for the first time, maybe living away from home for the first time, finding out new exciting things, trying to get used to their roommate, going into the bookstore, experiencing sticker shock, and just being blasted with all this stuff to do, maybe won't look for a church, won't take that initiative. But if I know that they're there, first name, last name, if it's, you know, John Smith, I need a middle initial. If they're enrolled, we can find them. We can contact them. And without those referrals, it's just very difficult to rise above the din and find these students. So, I mean, that partnership is very important. And I consider myself to be part of that partnership, to be part of that cycle where they come to my faith community and get involved there. And when they come there, I realize that this isn't going to be forever, that they're going to spend somewhere between 4 and 8 years if they go on for graduate work with us at Lutheran Campus Ministry, and then I'll be sending them out. Now, I can't quite do the same thing that, you know, a pastor would do and call up a synod office or a campus ministry and say, hey, so-and-so's coming your way, unless they're going on to graduate work. Then we do that. But I tell the students that when you go out, when you leave this place, make sure you find another faith community. So we have to impart that importance of the community to our youth as they leave, our congregations to go off to college or trade school or to move away for a job or whatever. And then when they leave that next phase of their life, to make sure that they understand that, you know, you may have had great community here and you're going to miss it, and that's the way life works. You know, life is a series of hellos and goodbyes, as Billy Joel said. But community is important, and being part of a faith community is important. And without it, you know, our faith withers and dies, I think. And certainly we begin to turn inward and start to think about spirituality rather than practicing faith within a community.
And what an important and crucial time,
right,
in someone's life too. A young adult, anywhere from, you know, age 18 to 22 or even a little bit older,
right,
for them to have a place,
yeah,
where they can go.
Right.
And it just seems to me, it has always seemed to me to be such a natural next step from being in high school and going to youth group activities and going to camp and going to on mission trips and things, and being a part of a regular youth group, coming to the church for, you know, meetings and movies and games and Bible studies and singing and stuff, and then to go to college,
right,
and experience some of the same things, but yet in a different setting.
right,
I mean, for having been to the Lutheran University Center, I know that I've described it as an awesome, fully loaded youth room. It is a big, giant youth room with couches and television and a fully loaded kitchen, and upstairs a wonderful worship space
Right.
where the community can come together. And isn't it wonderful to have such a place there in the heart of Oakland for our students, whether they're Lutheran or whether they're not Lutheran.
Right.
Maybe they are, as you called them during the break, sojourners.
Right.
Coming through, a wonderful place for them to come to. Just seems like a natural next step.
Sure. I think that the image of sojourner is so very important. We have a student now, Robert, who is from a small village outside of Selingsgrove, and it's really a place I've never even heard of before. And he came to the Lutheran University Center because he grew up Lutheran. His mom was involved when she was going through pharmacy school at Duquesne, I believe, years ago. And he came just to come to worship because that's what he did at his own church. He says that his own church is full of a bunch of elderly people. He didn't have a youth group. He was never asked to read lessons. He never did anything, in leadership. And so he shows up on a Sunday morning and he comes a few times and say, "Hey, Robert, you want to read the lessons?" And he goes, "Okay." "Hey, Robert, do you want to assist at communion?" "All right." "Hey, Robert, do you want to be part of our program committee?" And he says, "Okay." And so we come to find out that he'd never done any of these things before. He didn't have like the whole youth group experience. And he told someone, later that, I was just, this shy kid from, rural Pennsylvania who came here, and these people brought me out of my shell. So we go beyond, the sort of youth group experience to encouraging leadership and building leadership and an ownership in that ministry. I think ownership is very important, that they see it as a ministry that they can also provide for the campus while they're on campus. Mm-hmm. There's sort of that built in, I think, to the campus community between underclassmen and upperclassmen, that there's a natural hospitality, especially amongst the student organizations, that you reach out to the underclassmen to bring them in, and you bring them in, and then you train them to be a leader within the next couple of years because you know that you'll be moving on. And we have this sort of attitude and atmosphere also at the Lutheran University Center. So Robert is an example of this sort of sojourner in our midst, the one that we're called to care for. Abraham was an immigrant, and again and again the people are reminded that they're supposed to say, "A wandering Aramean was my father." That's what the Israelites, that's, as they confess their faith, that's how they begin. And again they're told the story of how they were slaves in Egypt. And the Bible emphasizes that because they are supposed to care for the traveler in their midst. And that's what these college students are. They're travelers in our midst, people looking for a place, people looking for a home away from home, people looking for hospitality, people looking for a place where they can grow.
It's a great biblical image for a great ministry. And more about that after we're going to take another short break here on Lutherans Alive. Welcome back again to Lutherans Alive. We're so glad you're with us, and we're glad to have Pastor Scott KeuchenmeisterHall talking about campus ministry in Oakland. And Scott, tell us, how is a ministry like Lutheran University Center, how is it funded?
Well, we receive about 4 funding streams. And we receive a grant from the denomination, and we receive grants from the 3 synods that are in this region: Southwestern Pennsylvania Synod, Northwestern Pennsylvania Synod, and West Virginia, Western Maryland. Now, the LCA grant and the grants from the 3 synods make up about 48% of our budget right now. And then the other 52% has to come from congregations who give above and beyond their benevolence dollars, and also from our alums and friends. So we have a donor base that we draw from, and we do fundraising like other agencies in the church.
As you've been involved now in campus ministry, specifically in Oakland, for a number of years, what would you say has been the most fulfilling aspect of the ministry for you?
The most fulfilling aspect is getting to know the college students, to see them come in as freshmen, to be with them over a period of those 4 years from when they go from being an 18-year-old who has never lived away from home to a 22, 23-year-old who has discovered what independence is like. You see them grow into their own. And one of the most telling questions for me that I know that the student is going through this process, and I feel like I'm being a success, and hear me out, is when the student comes to me and says, I don't know what I believe anymore. And this usually happens around the sophomore year or early in the junior year. Because the question they're really asking is, I don't know what I believe anymore because I've always been told what to believe, and it was, passed on to me, and I accepted that because it was coming from those who cared for me. But now I want to make it my own. I want to believe and be able to think through what I believe about the church and what I believe about God and what I believe about my faith, so that I can make it my own, so that I can acquire it for myself, so that I know I'm standing on some sort of firm foundation, to be able to think it through and say, yes, what I was given at my home congregation, what I've been given here, is something that I can believe, something that I can hold on to, something that gives me hope, something that inspires me to act. That question, when that's asked, I feel like I'm doing my job. I feel like that the student is growing spiritually, that the student is becoming a disciple. And I think faith, like intellectual development, emotional development, there's also faith development that goes along with that. And the student is taking that next step.
And you've seen students do that. And
Oh, yeah.
As you spoke a
Sure.
little bit earlier,
Sure.
you spoke about leadership development and involving them and getting them to do things. You've seen them go on to do other things.
Sure. We've had, of course, several students, some that have been involved in the Compline Choir and others that have been involved in our Sunday morning worship that have gone on to seminary. There's Greg Molesky, who is in his senior year. He's from First English Lutheran Church in Butler and came to the University of Pittsburgh and got his bachelor's there. And then he ran off and did Teach for America for about 3 or 4 years, and then went to seminary in Columbus, Ohio. And he's just about finished and about to graduate, and he's been assigned to a region and will be seeking a call. And then we have on the other end of the spectrum Dan Eisenberg, who came from Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania in the Lehigh Valley, and was with us for a couple of years. And now he's at the Philadelphia Seminary, where he just completed his first year, or is about to complete his first year. So there's been several students. There's Pastor Michael Sauerwein, who's House of Prayer Aliquippa, who came through our campus ministry. There's Tara Lynn, who is an associate pastor at St. Andrew Lutheran Church in Shadyside, who came through our ministry. And it's really fulfilling. It makes me feel old, of course, to see them come back and get all grown up and ordained. But it's good to become their colleague in that respect.
That must be very rewarding.
It is.
To see the young people, these young adults, sort of do some more growing up in your midst and with each other, and connect with one another and grow in faith there in that place. So that's been your greatest joy then.
Yes.
in doing campus ministry, has been the students
Right.
themselves.
It has been, yeah. Enjoy it very much. There's another story that I like to tell about one student who came to me, and he was dating this girl, and I had never met her, and they were been dating for a couple of years, and he came to me and said, I'm really worried about this relationship because church is so important to me, but my girlfriend doesn't want to come to church. My girlfriend, had a bad experience with church, and she just doesn't want to come anymore. So he said, what am I supposed to do? And I said, well, Colin, I think you can pray for her, and you can keep gently inviting her to come. So some time passed, and we had made an event to go to the symphony to hear, I think, Holst's Planets, and the students liked that one for some reason. And we were gathering at the Lutheran University Center to get in cars and to drive downtown to hear the symphony, and Colin comes with his girlfriend, Melissa. So she came to that event, and not too long after that, she came to our choral prayer at the close of the day, worship at Heinz Chapel. And that's the kind of service where it's dark. There's not a whole lot of congregation involvement there. You know, it's kind of a personal time to contemplate and to meditate. So it's kind of, it's not the sort of in-your-face kind of church where you're going to make the visitors stand up and be recognized kind of thing. So it's a safe place if you're unchurched or have been burned by the church to come and to experience what church can be. And she came to that for a few weeks, and then one Sunday morning she shows up with Colin. And she came for a couple of times, and she'd miss a couple of weeks, and then she'd come back, and then she started coming every week. And then one Sunday after church, I asked her, Melissa, have you ever been baptized? And she said no. And I asked her if she would like to be baptized, and she said she would. So I was able to baptize her, and I did Colin and Melissa's wedding. Still get Christmas cards from them, and they have a couple of beautiful children. They live outside of Washington, D.C. So that's what it's all about, really, I think, is knowing that the Word of God has been proclaimed, that people have received it, and that people are finding their vocations and their callings within hearing that Word.
That's wonderful. Ministry is all about relationships, our relationships with one another and our relationship with God. And Scott, thank you for all that you've been doing during these years at the Lutheran University Center, and may God continue to bless the ministry. And thank you, and may God continue to bless you. And we hope that you'll come and worship with us somewhere in your neighborhood or near your neighborhood. There's a Lutheran congregation that would be pleased to welcome you. Come and worship with us, and come and join us next time on Lutherans Alive.